ज्ञानतिमिरन्दस्य ज्ञानाञ्जना शलाकया चक्षुर्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः. Gurave Gaurachandraya Radhikaye Tadalaye Krishnaya Krishna Bhaktaya Tad Bhaktaya Namo Namaha. Yam Pravajantam Anupekta Apekta Krityam Dvapayano Viraha Katara Ajuhava Putreti Tanmayataya Taravo Benedus Tam Sarvabhutam Hridayam Munimanatosmi Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatam Vyasam Tato Jayamudirayet Bhaktya Vihina Parada Lakshaya Tiptashtakamari Tarangamadye Kripa Maitvam Sharanam Prapanna Brinde Namaste Charanada Vindam Tave Vasme Najivami Tvaya Vina Iti Vigyaya Radhe Tvam Nayanam Charanandike Vancha Kalpatarubhascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. So we are going to begin by first offering our most humble obeisance unto the lotus feet of our beloved Gurus, unto Sri Guru Parapadma Nityalita Bhavishta Om Vishnupad Asta Tatsat Sri Srimad Abhaya Charanaravinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada and Sri Guru Parapadma Nityalita Bhavishta Om Vishnupad Asta Tatsat Sri Srimad Bhaktivedanta Narayan Goswami Maharaj, unto our exalted Upana Guru Varga, all the Samo Vaishnavas and Vaishnavis. Okay, so yesterday we were hearing about Rupa Goswami, obviously, how he is the recipient of the special mercy, special enlightenment of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, and how he understood Mahaprabhu's, his chanting, the secret underlying meaning of the song he was singing during the Rath Yatra festival, where he was singing what appeared to be an ordinary love song of a young woman singing about her relationship with her beloved, but it actually had a much deeper meaning, and it invoked in Mahaprabhu his own mood as Radhika seeing Krishna at Kurukshetra, and even though they were the same, Krishna and Radha, in one sense, they were not the same because they were out of Vrindavan, right? And they could not engage in pastimes and express love in the way that they could in Vrindavan in Kurukshetra. And in fact, in Kurukshetra, it's not Radhika in her original form, and it's not Krishna in his original form. It's Vasudeva Krishna, that Krishna who performs pastimes in Mathura, takes birth from Devaki and Vasudeva. He's an expansion of the original Swayam Bhagavan Krishna. And Radhika, and so he's there, and Radhika has different forms as well. In Vrindavan, she's Vrishabhanu Nandini. She's Krishna's beloved, Krishna the son of Nanda and Jashoda, right? And there's some separation, but not so much. A few hours a day, something like that. Once in a while, some pastime by Jatila may create a little bit more separation to enhance their love even more, right? But basically, they're together with some brief interruption. But then, when Krishna goes to Mathura and then Dwarka, then there's another manifestation of Radhika, the same manifestation that Krishna saw in Vrindavan, talking to the bumblebee, Viyogini Radhika, where she's not with Krishna and she's feeling great separation from him. Right? And then when a form of Radhika leaves Vrindavan and goes to Kurukshetra and meets him there, that's Samyogini Radhika. But we heard the other day that Krishna never takes a step out of Vrindavan. The original Nanda, Jashoda Nandan, Krishna never takes a step out of Vrindavan. And his beloved Radhika also never takes a step out of Vrindavan. Right? Radhika at Kurukshetra was praying, oh, this is nice, but it's not the same. Here you have no flute, you have no peacock feather. You can't dress as a cowherd boy. You can't have dalliances with us. What would happen if in the palace, your queens were to see the gopis, if they were there, right? It would just be rasabas, completely incompatible, right? In the village of Vrindavan, everything can go along. The mixing of Radha and Krishna is suspected, but it's not seen directly. And they can overlap in settings like going to cook breakfast for Krishna, right? Festivals where they're all together, circumambulating Govardhan Hill, being under Govardhan Hill. There are times when they can all meet together. And then there are times when they meet separately and secretly, right? But in Dwarka, that could never happen. Where would they go? What would they do, right? So, and there's no Govardhan, there's no Jamuna, there's no there's no Radhakund, there are no forests of Vrindavan. This is the stage, this is the Udipan, this is the environment which allows for the full expression and enactment of their beautiful, beautiful transcendental Leela. So she's saying, I want to go back to Vrindavan. When they were there, Krishna said, oh, just meditate on me. Think of me in your mind and we'll be together. And their response was, what are you talking about? We're always thinking of you. The yogis may try very hard to capture you in their heart. We are always thinking of you. In fact, it gives us so much pain, we want to forget you, but we can't. And you say, think of us and you'll be in our heart. Radhika says, well, my heart is Vrindavan. I am Vrindavan. I live in Vrindavan. You should come to my heart in Vrindavan. So that's Rath Yatra. This is what Rupa Goswami understood. And so Mahaprabhu had told Srup Damodar, how has he understood Mahaprabhu said, how have you understood my mind? And then he explained to Srup Damodar and others, Rupa Goswami met me at Prayag, knowing him to be a suitable person, I naturally bestowed my mercy upon him. I thereupon also bestowed upon him my transcendental potency. Now you also should give him instructions. In particular, instruct him in transcendental mellows. Some he gave him, but in 10 days, how could you give everything? And so Srup Damodar, it's said in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, anyone who knows anything about the pastimes, the moods, the ras in Vrindavan, they must have learned it from Srup Damodar, right? He and Ramananda Roy are the repository. They're the professors in this school of love. Radhika is the principal, and they are the chief professors. So now he's telling Srup Damodar, now you instruct him as well. Srup Damodar said, as soon as I saw the unique composition of this verse, I could immediately understand that you had bestowed upon him your special mercy. By seeing a result, one can understand the cause of the result. Right? So that is the last verse we read. And then let me make this a little bigger. Let's see. Ah! Disappeared. God, I'm such a moron. Where'd it go? Where'd it go? Hare Krishna. Ah. Ah. No, not that. Oh, I'm in Kindle. Okay. All right. Okay. All right. This verse. This is a verse, let's see. Let's see. Swagapaga hema mrinalininam nana mrinalagra bhuja bhajama ananurupam tanuruparidhim kayam nitanda digunanadite. Just want to make sure I didn't cut my head off again. What does that mean? The river Ganga, flowing in the heavenly planets, is full of golden lotus flowers. And we, the residents of those planets, eat the stems of those flowers. Thus, we are very beautiful, more so than the inhabitants of any other planet. This is due to the the law of cause and effect. For if one eats food in the mode of goodness, the mode of goodness increases the beauty of his body. So Srila Prabhupada gives a long purport about that, actually. But we're going to move on. He's talking about, of course, that modern people are polluted because of the nasty food that they eat. Then, the next verse, after the 4 months of Chaturmasya, all the Vaishnavas of Bengal returned to their homes. But Srila Rupa Goswami remained in Jagannath Puri under the shelter of the lotus feet of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. So he's going to be there for some extended time. He's there for Chaturmasya and now more. One day, while Rupa Goswami was writing his book, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu suddenly appeared. As soon as Haridas Thakur and Rupa Goswami saw the Lord coming, they both stood up and then fell down to offer him their respectful obeisance. Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced them both and then sat down. The Lord inquired, "What kind of book are you writing?" He held up a palm leaf. That was a page of the manuscript. And when he saw the fine handwriting, his mind was very pleased. Thus, being pleased, the Lord praised the writing by saying, "The handwriting of Rupa Goswami is just like a row of pearls." You can see the handwriting of Rupa Goswami. There's a library, museum, special library there, where a few pages from original manuscripts written by Srila Rupa Goswami himself are still there. And you can see his handwriting, how beautiful it is. While reading the manuscript, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu saw a verse on that page, and as soon as he read it, he was overwhelmed by ecstatic love. This is a famous verse by Rupa Goswami. Tunde tandavini ritim vitunute tundavale labdaye karna kroda kandambini gatayate karna budeya spraham cheta pragangana sangini vijayate sarvendriyanam kritim no jane janita kyaribir amritai krishneti varna dvayi. I do not know how much nectar the two syllables Krishna have produced. When the holy name of Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. We then desire many, many mouths. When that name enters the holes of the ears, we desire many millions of ears. And when the holy name dances in the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind, and therefore all the senses become inert. So that's in the Vidagdha Madhav in the very beginning, 15th verse of the first chapter. And Vidagdha Madhav, Srila Prabhupada explains, is a 7-act play written by Rupa Goswami about Krishna's activities in Vrindavan. This is a verse we could keep in mind. We're studying Madhurya Kadambini, we heard about the chanting of the holy name and the development of purification in our heart and step-by-step realization of the nature of that name. But we have to clear out all of our anarthas. And up to this point, we've heard about coming up to nishta, steadiness. But very soon we're going to discuss ruchi, where Shuddhanam first manifests on the tongue. I heard a discussion from Srila Prabhupada talking about namabhas, namaparad, and Shuddhanam. And he was, making very clear that namaparad may be something in the beginning, which we want to move on from very quickly. It's offensive chanting. And namabhas is less offense, or you can even call it offenseless at a certain point, but it's not Shuddhanam. And he said, we want to come to Shuddhanam. He made a very clear distinction, because Shuddhanam is what's being talked about here, when actually realization that Krishna and his name are non-different. And by chanting that name, Krishna is actually appearing on the tongue. It's inconceivable. Inconceivable. We can't, in the Jaiva Dharma, Brajanath or Vijay Kumar asked the question, how can that transcendental name, which is completely transcendental, descending from the spiritual world, how can it manifest as letters? And, how can it be chanted by the material tongue? It's a material sound vibration. And Babaji Maharaj explains, no, it's never a material sound vibration. We only hear it in that way. We see it in that way. But the holy name does not come from a material cause. It's an eternal entity, an eternal vastu, complete, fully pure, capable of bestowing all benediction upon the living entity, right? Chintamani Krishnas, right? Nama Chintamani Krishnas. And it's Chaitanya Rasa Vigraha, the very form of transcendental consciousness and ras. It's Krishna himself. Vinadvan Namanamino. Eternal, complete, right? So we want to, this verse Rupa Goswami is given, and hearing it, Mahaprabhu is plunged into ecstasy. So when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu chanted this verse, now Mahaprabhu's chanting it, Haridas Thakur, upon hearing the vibration, became jubilant and began to dance while praising its meaning. One has to learn about the beauty and transcendental position of the holy name of the Lord by hearing the revealed scriptures from the mouths of devotees. Nowhere else can we hear of the sweetness of the Lord's holy name. Krishna namera mahima shastrasaru mukke jani namera madhuryache gahanahe shuni. One has to learn about the beauty and transcendental position of the holy name of the Lord by hearing the revealed scriptures from the mouths of devotees. Nowhere else can we hear of the sweetness of the Lord's holy name. So, sadhu, right? Krishna namera mahima, the glories of the holy name. Sadhu mukhe jani, from the mouths, the mukhe of the sadhu. Jani, this way we can understand. Sadhu means pure Vaishnava. It's not just a generic term, just to anybody who's practicing bhakti. This is a direct instruction of Mahaprabhu himself given in this Chaitanya Charitamrita, right? And nowhere else can this holy name be properly heard and understood. So, Srila Prabhupada's purport about this. It is said in the Padma Purana, Atak Sri Krishna Namadi Nabhavad Grayam Indriyaya. Chanting and hearing of the transcendental holy name of the Lord cannot be performed by the ordinary senses. The transcendental vibration of the Lord's holy name is completely spiritual. Thus, it must be received from spiritual sources and must be chanted after having been heard from a spiritual master. That's why a spiritual master should be one, must be one, who's chanting Shuddhanam. And the higher the level of realization, the better. A Madhyamadikari who's chanting Shuddhanam in Ruchi, better in Asakti, can give initiation. But even they, Srila Prabhupada says, can only help the devotee advance in a limited way because of their insufficient guidance. And of course, Madhyam is a rare position, very high, but to get the full ultimate benefit, we need to hear and take instruction from Uttam Adhikaris, right? Those who have fully realized that nature of the holy name and their relationship with Radha and Krishna as they manifest in their holy name. So he says, he goes on, only one, let's see, the transcendental vibration of the Lord's holy name is completely spiritual. Thus, it must be received from spiritual sources and must be chanted after having been heard from a spiritual master. One who hears the chanting of the Hare Krishna mantra must receive it from the spiritual master by oral reception. Srila Sanatana Goswami has forbidden us to hear the holy name of Krishna chanted by non-Vaishnavas, such as professional actors and singers, for it will have no effect. It is like milk touched by the lips of a serpent. As stated in the Padma Purana, important verse, Avaishnava Makod Girnam Putam Harikritamritam Shravanam Naiva Kartavyam Sarpo Chishtam Jatapaya. As far as possible, therefore, the devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement gather to chant the holy name of Krishna in public so that both the chanters and listeners may benefit. Nowadays, you see on social media so many groups of chanters. Lately, for some reason or other, I've been, because I guess Facebook can't discriminate between Vaishnavas and non-Vaishnavas. There's some fellow chanting, I guess I'm not even going to mention his name, and he looks to be Indian-bodied, sort of Western Indian-bodied. Anyway, handsome guy, sings very beautifully, plays harmonium, and he sings before huge crowds of dancing people. You know, but the crowds, generally, it looks like 90% ladies, you know, yogi-type ladies, right? And some guys, you know, soft males. And they're all dancing in this ecstatic way and in this kind of semi-lusty way, you have to say, you know. And it's exactly the kind of chanting that we should not participate in. I know that Srila Bhaktivedanta Narayana Maharaj gave very specific instruction to some of his young devotees that were going around and chanting. They're very expert and leading kirtans, not to chant with these types of groups. And in the Jaiva Dharma, when the question is asked about that, Raghunath Das Babaji Maharaj says that, well, if these groups are mixed, but the kirtans are led by Vaishnavas, not Mayavadis and not materialists, then everyone will benefit. But we should never participate in kirtans led by Mayavadis or gross materialists, because that's a Vaishnava Makod Girnam Putam Harikatamritam. It's like milk touched by the lips of a serpent. Srila Prabhupada cited this a lot. Milk is very nourishing, but if a serpent touches it, then that milk will produce poisonous effects. So that kind of kirtan will degrade. And you have to be careful. Nowadays, you see many big groups in Vaishnava societies chanting kirtan, but then they have all kinds of instruments, and it's very elaborate and musical. The sense you get is more about the music even than the kirtan, and even the kirtans are somewhat stylish. Now, not all, because many of the young devotees sing very beautifully in traditional tunes. A lot of them were associating and trained in Vrindavan by my godbrother, Indra, and others, and that's very nice, right? Very, very pleasing to the heart. But these other kind of kirtans, they don't produce the same effect. And admittedly, when we were young, when ISKCON was just forming, we also would chant and have taste for these kind of kirtans. But Srila Prabhupada said the taste is for the music. And people will come when you do these kind of kirtans because they also have taste for that kind of music, but they won't stay. They'll come for the wrong reasons, and after a while, because they're not getting transcendental taste, they won't stay. Right? So we should be cautious about that. Right? Be cautious. And stick to the tunes given by our Goswamis and our following acharyas, and really focus when we're chanting that holy name to try it to be pleasing. Like as if our Guru, and he is, for sincere, is right there with us. Would we be chanting like that in front of our Guru? And if Radha and Krishna and their beloveds were around, do we think this kind of kirtan would be pleasing to them? Is that the best we can do? Right? Or is it something we're doing for ourselves? Right? We want to eliminate that mixture, right? That abas. Right? So, anyway, the last thing he said, Srila Prabhupada, as far as possible, therefore the devotees in the Krishna consciousness movement gather to chant the holy name in public so that both the chanters and the listeners may benefit. Right? Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced Haridas and Rupa Goswami and left for the seaside to perform his noontime duties. So sometimes he would just stop by. He'd come from the Jagannath temple, bring them some prasad, engage in something extraordinary, embrace them, and then go take his bath and then go on. On the next day, after visiting the temple of Jagannath as usual, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu met Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, Ramananda Roy, and Swarup Damodar. They all went together to Srila Rupa Goswami, and on the way the Lord greatly praised his qualities. So they all want to see Rupa Goswami. This is so beautiful, right? To understand. Because Rupa Goswami is so dear to Mahaprabhu, just as Rupa Manjari is so dear to Radhika. Right? And so dear to Swarup Damodar. Priya Surupe, Sahaja Virupe, right? So, when Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu recited the two important verses, he felt great pleasure. Thus, as if he had 5 mouths, he began to praise his devotee. And Srila Prabhupada explains those 2 verses are the ones we heard about earlier. Priya Soyam. Oh, now I've met my very dear friend Krishna after so long, right, at this place of Kurukshetra. I'm the same Radhika, he's the same Krishna, but it's not the same, right? I wish to go back to Vrindavan, right? under the sacred trees of Vrindavan, and hear Krishna playing the fifth note on his flute, right? And then this Tunde Tanda Vini, this, oh, what nectar is in this name of Krishna, right? So he chanted those verses. And just to examine Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya and Ramananda Roy, the Lord began to praise the transcendental qualities of Sri Rupa Goswami before them. Because Rupa Goswami is a relatively young boy compared to these two senior personalities. Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya, like the age of Mahaprabhu's, maybe closer to his grandfather, right? And Ramananda Roy also, senior, important position, the governor of South India previously under Maharaj Prataparudra. So, characteristically, the Supreme Personality of Godhead does not seriously take an offense committed by a pure devotee. The Lord accepts whatever small service a devotee renders as being a great service that he is prepared to give even himself, what to speak of other benedictions. Srila Prabhupada was like that too. Srila Narayan Maharaj was like that. I think the most famous story, well, it's one that it's always touched me, when Srila Prabhupada was just in the very beginning in his humble 26 Second Avenue, where at just the beginning, not a very fancy place at all, and he was talking to this ragtag mixed band of people, but he was having an impact on the area. It was all full of drunks and bums and terrible place. Sometimes you had to walk over a sleeping, intoxicated person to get in and out of the door. But one time when Srila Prabhupada was talking, a bedraggled, old, dirty, bum-like person walked in, and he had some rolls of toilet paper. And he walked in, looked at Srila Prabhupada, nodded, and then walked to the back of the hall where there was a bathroom, and he opened the door and he left the toilet paper there. And then he walked out and he left. He didn't stay to hear anything. And Srila Prabhupada noted that and spoke to the group. Just see, anyone can be inspired to render service to Krishna. Srila Prabhupada noted, he is very appreciative. This is a spontaneous gesture from the heart of this person. He didn't know anything. He was covered by tamagun, but he was inspired to serve. And that person couldn't have lived much longer, but he was acknowledged and blessed by a pure devotee. Certainly, he is living today and somehow or other engaging in the next step available to him in devotion. See, this is the nature of the Krishna consciousness movement, that you can't really tell what's going on, but since it began, people have been hearing Harinam in the streets, like Srila Prabhupada just said. People have been taking Mahaprasad, people have been taking books, and to different degrees interacting with devotees, sometimes even practicing devotion, sometimes even living in a temple, right? And sometimes taking initiation, serving for many years, then sometimes going away and not taking up again in this lifetime. So many different ways in which people come and practice, and then next life it will begin again. So now, from this point on, because this movement has been going on now for over 50 years, many people are taking birth that have already had some scars. And so they're more inclined. And then they'll practice, and gradually the environment and the condition of the world is shifting, right? So we just have to keep on chanting and doing these things. And bhakti is such an amazing thing. I used to think that we're all going to be pure devotees by the time we're 40, and that the high court judges are going to be wearing tilak, and the president's going to be a devotee in my lifetime. It takes a little bit longer. I just saw a picture the other day, And it was Srila Prabhupada surrounded by devotees, and most of them were some morning walk somewhere, and most of them were senior. One of them was holding a microphone, and he became a guru and was, prominent and very successful all over, so many places. But he fell away, right? Took a bunch of money, got married, and now living. And little, for many, many years, not able to associate with devotees at all, hardly. Now a little bit. Another one in the picture became a guru, got his head cut off. I don't know what happened to him. I think by that, probably that pretty much took care of all the reaction to any offenses he might have committed. So he did a lot of really good service when he was young, right? But, fell victim to intoxication and offenses. And there were many others like that in the picture, right? Which I don't need to go into. And some that just fell away in this lifetime, right? And I know many devotees, and in one lifetime, sometimes your bhakti is interrupted, then you take it up again, right? Like me. So it's a very interesting path, right? But Guru is very merciful. And any little service we perform, I remember when I met Srila Narayan Maharaj, and I was helping that next year with Radhakanta doing a festival in Oakland at a monastery there. And I was helping by arranging for everybody's rooms and collecting the funds and helping organize and, the managed oversight of the festival that's going on, the things that had to be done. But it wasn't very much. It was kind of insignificant service. But they had darshans every day, which I didn't know anything about, I was just running around. But Radhakanta told me that he'd mentioned my name to Srila Narayan Maharaj, and he said, oh, he's doing so much for me. And I wasn't doing so much. I wasn't doing hardly anything. But the little bit, and there were a couple of other occasions where he also said that. But what did that do to me? When he spoke to me directly about that on a couple of occasions and was so grateful, on the one hand, it made me a little ashamed that I really wasn't doing much. But on the other hand, what it made me want to do was a lot more, right? So Guru is very expert. So the Lord accepts whatever small service a devotee renders as being such a great service that he is prepared to give even himself, what to speak of other benedictions. But the main thing is in what mood it's given. Remember the story of Sudama, bringing just this almost unedible chipped rice. It's all he had. He barely had proper cloth to go visit Krishna in Dwarka, who's now a king. But he was there, and because he had brought that offering with such love, Krishna was so indebted, right? And reciprocated with him in a remarkable way, right? The fruit seller, she just gave Krishna her fruits. He couldn't hardly hold more than 2 or 3 pieces in his little hand. But he changed her entire basket of fruit to incredible jewels, upon which she saw she had no use for her. What do I care for these jewels? Because he'd given her a much greater gift. He had sat in her lap. He called her mother, and he gave her full-fledged Vatsalya Prem, right? With a few fruits. But she had given this fruit with love. So that's the real gift. Even a little love expressed towards Krishna, or the desire to have love, oh, that's what he wants to hear. That's what he wants to hear. So, here's a verse from Srila Rupa Goswami in Bhakti Samrita Sindhu. The Supreme Personality of Godhead, who is known as Purushottam, the greatest of all persons, has a pure mind. He is so gentle that even if his servant is implicated in a great offense, he does not take it very seriously. Indeed, if his servant renders some small service, the Lord accepts it as being very great. Even if an envious person blasphemes the Lord never manifests anger against him. Such are his great qualities. The Lord may punish somebody, but not because of anger at something that somebody does on this mundane plane. This is described in the 7th canto. Does the Lord show favor to the demigods and disfavor to the demons because they blaspheme him? No, he's not affected. He's transcendental. He can't be affected, even touched, by anything from this mundane plane. He may appear to act differently to one or another, but that is simply to purify and assist that person to gradually come to him. If someone's a devotee, he will show favor. That's his Bhakta Vatsalya, his great ornament of love for his devotee. And if he punishes a demon, it's to save him from the reaction to offense and purify them. He's always looking for the benefit of every living entity. So, what is that verse? Okay. Brityasya pashyati gurun apina paradan sevam managapi kritam bahudabi papaiti avishkaroti pushanafapi naba suyam silena nirmala mati purushottamayam. I got to get new glasses. I can't read anything. So, when Haridas Thakur and Rupa Goswami saw that Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had come with his intimate devotees, they both immediately fell down like logs and offered prayers to his lotus feet, and to their lotus feet, to the devotees as well. Thus, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu and his personal devotees met Srila Rupa Goswami and Haridas Thakur. The Lord then sat down in an elevated place with his devotees. Rupa Goswami and Haridas Thakur sat at the foot of the elevated place where Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu was sitting. Although everyone asked them to sit on the same level as the Lord and his associates, they did not do so. When Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu ordered Rupa Goswami to read the verse they had previously heard, Rupa Goswami, because of great shyness, did not read it, but instead remained silent. Then Sri Damodar Goswami recited the verse, and when all the devotees heard it, their minds were struck with wonder. Here it is again. Priya soyam Krishna saha charikuru ketra militas tataham saradha taridam ubayo sangamasukam tatapyanta kelan madura morali panchamajushe manome kalindi pulina vipinaya sprihayati. My dear friend, now I have met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. I am the same Radharani, and now we are meeting together. It is very pleasant, but I would still like to go to the bank of the Jamuna beneath the trees of the forest there. I wish to hear the vibration of his sweet flute playing the 5th note within that forest of Vrindavan. We have to keep that verse. That's such a special verse. You know, Srila Saraswati Prabhupada one time was giving a lecture. I think it was at Kurukshetra. I'm not sure. But Bhakti Rakshat Sridhar Maharaj discusses this. He was there. And he said, Saraswati Prabhupada said, that I want to do my bhajan in Kurukshetra. This is the highest place. Vrindavan is for the small-minded. And Bhakti Rakshat Sridhar Maharaj said, when he heard that, he couldn't reconcile it because up to that time, everything he'd heard, Vrindavan, topmost place, right? And he said he felt as if he had just fallen from a branch of a high tree onto the ground, just crunched, you know. And later he asked about that. And Saraswati Prabhupada explained, well, the greatest service is done at the place of the greatest need. And here, is Radhika meeting with Krishna, and although they're together after so long, the pain of her separation can't be really satisfied. It looks like it is, but it can't be because it's not the right place, you know. And so she's singing this verse. And ultimately, it was a special mood. He wasn't saying that that is the highest place to do it, but he was tasting that mood, just as Mahaprabhu went to Puri to taste those very moods, right, of Radhika in separation, that Viyogini Radhika, right? This is, and this is Samyogini Radhika. So both those kinds of moods he's tasting in Puri. So Puri is not Vrindavan, it's not the highest place. Navadvip is the highest place for Mahaprabhu's Leela. And all of his moods are tasted there as they are in Vrindavan, all of Radhika's moods. But in the first part of his pastimes, they're concealed and hidden by his scholarly pastimes, but internally he's experiencing them. Then when he manifests his devotional sentiments after coming back from Gaya, then these moods are on full display. So Puri is the place where Radhika is tasting both Samyogini and Viyogini. And in the Gambhira, there's like a Viyogini, and when Mahaprabhu is before Lord Jagannath directly, it's like Kurukshetra, right? Although Mahaprabhu, in his deepest moods, when he would see Lord Jagannath, he would not see him like in his opulent way. He would see him, or in the Dwarka way, he would see him as Shyamasundar, as Krishna in Vrindavan. And there's an amazing Ashtakam written to Lord Jagannath by none other than Shankaracharya, who is, in a hidden way, Lord Shiva himself. And in one verse, he talks about Lord Jagannath with his flute, right? Singing it and being Krishna in Vrindavan, right? So, after hearing this verse, that my dear friend, now I've met my very old and dear friend Krishna on this field of Kurukshetra. After hearing this verse, Ramananda Roy and Sarvabhauma Bhattacharya said to Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, "Without your special mercy, how could this Rupa Goswami have understood your mind?" Srila Ramananda Roy said that previously, Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu had empowered his heart so that he could express elevated and conclusive statements to which even Lord Brahma had no access. Had you not previously bestowed your mercy on him, on Rupa, they said, it would not have been possible for him to express your internal feelings. So then Srila Prabhupada quotes this verse, Sri Chaitanya Monobishtam Stapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadandikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Right? So then he quotes another verse about the special function of Srila Rupa Goswami to establish the feelings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. These feelings are his desires that his special mercy be spread throughout the world in this Kali Yuga. So this is a very subtle verse, because Mahaprabhu came to give Juga Dharma, right, the chanting of the holy name, but imbued with the secrets of what Rupa Goswami came to give. There's general Yuga Dharma, chanting Hare Krishna, but in this age, one who becomes a sincere follower of Rupa Goswami can, through his representatives like our Srila Prabhupada, our Srila Narayan Maharaj, and so many others, can understand that everything that's being talked about here, the secrets of Radha and Krishna, the speciality about Radha and Krishna in Vrindavan, the special moods of love, the special quality of the holy name that's imbued with that love of Vrindavan, all of that is what he empowered Rupa Goswami to explain, and which is what Srila Prabhupada's revealing in these translations and in his purports. The special function of Srila Rupa Goswami is to establish the feelings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, what Mahaprabhu came to taste and what he came to give, right? These feelings are his desires that his special mercy be spread throughout the world in this Kali Yuga. That's what we're trying to accomplish when we chant our japa, when we're chanting congregationally, when we're singing bhajans. Then Srila Prabhupada quotes, Priti Viti Achejata Nagaradi Gram Sarvatra Pacharo Hoibe Moranam. The desire of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is that all over the world, everyone in every village, every town, know of him and his Sankirtan movement. These are the inner feelings of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. Srila Rupa Goswami committed to writing all these feelings of the Lord. Now again, by the mercy of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, the same feelings are being spread all over the world by the servants of the Goswamis, and devotees who are pure and simple will appreciate this attempt. The servants of the Goswamis. Prabhupada saying, he's a servant of the Goswamis. His Guru Maharaj, who empowered him, servant of the Goswamis, right? And his disciples, his servants, are servants of the Goswamis. And he wants this message, which is why he was so insistent on publishing this Chaitanya Charitamrita, roaring, get this done. And he was so fierce about it that his disciples became empowered to put together 17 volumes in just 3 months with all the paintings and everything done. Not like today where you can do everything on a computer. So many steps and stages had to be done. The layout, the painting, all of that. Extraordinary effort. And then distribute them all. These huge Adi Leelas and Madhya Leelas and Antya Leela, all these secret teachings, out to the world, hundreds and thousands, millions of these books. As concluded, he goes on to say, as concluded by Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami, however, those who are on the level of hogs and dogs will never appreciate such a great attempt. Yet this does not matter to the preachers of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's cult. We're a proud cult, not a materialistic, mundane, degraded cult. Cult has a meaning of a special group, not the pejorative way that it's come to be interpreted. For all over the world, they will continue to perform this responsible work, even though persons who are like cats and dogs do not appreciate them. What do we care for the cats and dogs? Then Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu said, my dear Rupa, please recite that verse from your drama, which upon being heard makes all people's unhappiness and lamentation go away. So again, now after the prelude of what Mahaprabhu did, empowering Rupa Goswami, and then wanting all of this to be spread around the world, now he's going to give more of what Rupa Goswami was empowered to give. I'll just read the translation. Again, this is that second verse that we already heard. I do not know how much nectar the 2 syllables Krishna have produced. When the holy name of Krishna is chanted, it appears to dance within the mouth. We then desire many, many mouths. When that name enters the holes of the ears, we desire many millions of ears. When the holy name dances in the courtyard of the heart, it conquers the activities of the mind, and therefore all the senses become inert. And when all the devotees of Sri Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, especially Ramananda Roy, heard this verse, they were all filled with transcendental bliss and were struck with wonder. even Ramananda Roy, the great speaker of the Samvad, right? Now he's astonished by what Rupa Goswami was given by Mahaprabhu. Not just the beauty of the compositions, but the depth of realization and taste. Everyone admitted that although they had heard many statements glorifying the holy name of the Lord, they had never heard such sweet descriptions as those of Rupa Goswami. Now, tomorrow, Ramananda Roy is going to ask about Vidagdha Madhav and Lalit Madhav, because he was a very expert scholar, and he, in composition and drama, and so that's all going to be explained. I was going to start talking about Lord Baladev tomorrow. I'm not sure, because in some places they're celebrating his appearance on Thursday. We're celebrating it on Friday because...
Why is that? Because the full moon's on Thursday.
Well, because he appears in India on Friday, where he actually appears. That's how, that's why we're doing it on Friday. But anyway, that's big argument, So we're doing our celebration here Friday. But some people are doing their fasting and everything Thursday. That's up to how people want to do. But the way I've understood is that how can we celebrate the appearance of Lord Balaram in America before he appears in India, where he actually appears in the Dham? Sort of like jumping the gun. We're performing our service, trying to meditate, that what is it? Tistan Vrajay Tad Anuragi Jananugami, right? That we should meditate and follow, that this verse Tannama Rupa Charitadi Sakirtananu, Smitro Kramena Manasi Niyoja, Tistan Vrajay Tad Anuragi Jananugami, Kalam Nayad It Upadesha Saram. One should, the essence of all advice by Rupa Goswami is that one should continually chant the holy name of the Lord 24 hours a day, living in Vrindavan under the guidance of Brajbasis, right? Pure Brajbasis. And if one can't be in Vrindavan directly, personally, then one should meditate on being in Vrindavan. So on these days, we try to do our service as if we were in Vrindavan. We're meditating, or chanting, or remembering pastime places. So remembering the appearance of Lord Balaram, because at that time, tomorrow in Vrindavan, or the next day rather, he's appearing there. That's why some do it. But again, it can be done both ways. Both are fine. Okay. So we'll stop here, and offer obeisance to Srila Prabhupada, Srila Gurudev, all of our Guru Varga coming from glorious Rupa Goswami Prabhupada. Gaur Premanande Haribol.